Best Podcast Ever is sponsored by the Gertzberg Law Firm, an award-winning, full-service business law firm in Cleveland and Chagrin Falls that is changing the way businesses hire and pay for their attorneys. Go to gertzberglaw.com to learn more. While you're there, check out Cover My 6, a one-of-a-kind, complete legal audit of the 6 areas most likely to get a business sued or investigated. Lawsuits no longer have to be the cost of doing business. They are distracting, time-consuming, expensive, and with Cover My 6, often avoidable. Go to covermy6.com to learn how we keep your company safe. Enjoy the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to listen to the best podcast ever recorded.
Hi, Molly Gebler.
Hi, Alex Gertzberg.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm enjoying a Lorna Doone.
I
My mother loved Lorna Doones.
What is this? Do you think Lorna Doone is a lady's name?
I don't know. We should research that. We should definitely look into that.
I mean, Lorna sounds like a lady's name.
Does.
It sounds like an old-timey lady's name.
I'll be back to the next podcast with information about Lorna.
Please do. What's next for Molly Gebler, the award-winning producer and director?
Probably
Of
not
the
another
girl.
documentary right now.
Not another
I've
one?
been working on something for about a year that I'd like to finish.
Ooh, what is it? Can you tell?
No, and I'm pretty close to it. I just partnered with an artist who then will do what she needs to do, and then we'll
that
release
right?
that. Yep. Yeah, and she's a local gal who's in college, and
It's a movie, right? No?
no,
Is it a sculpture?
I'm not gonna say.
Is it a painting? Is it a
Not
short
gonna
story?
say. So I'm gonna get that done. I mean, I've been working on that for longer than a year, probably 3 years, I would think. But it's just one of those things that you pick up and then you put back down. And
I'm so inspired by you. I'm so inspired by you. I might write that book now.
you better.
You made a whole documentary from beginning to end right before my very eyes. Couldn't believe it. Can't believe it.
I know you were there.
Yeah.
You were there,
All right.
and you are the official law firm. You had your credits. Did you
I'm
see
in
your
we're in the-
credits?
thank you. Yeah, we're in the credits. Yeah, it's very nice of you.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, let's talk about
Our guest.
our featured guest here. So Mark Turner is a lawyer. He's a litigator, which means that he goes to court and enjoys it. Well, I guess not every litigator enjoys it.
No, go
but
back. That's not what a litigator means. What
Yeah,
does
it is.
if
A
you
litigator-
look up litigator, it doesn't say an attorney who likes to do what they do. Okay,
You're right. No, that's a
so
good
for
point.
for a person like
A litigator
me,
a litigator is someone who represents a party in a dispute with another party.
okay.
Okay, at its most basic level, that's what a litigator does. And that often involves filing a complaint in court and having to appear in court to argue on behalf of your party.
Is it injury? Is it business because he works here?
Well, he's a business litigator,
Okay.
so he mostly represents businesses in disputes either with other businesses or with employees or with customers or vendors or whatever.
Okay.
But Mark has a lot of expertise in doing insurance litigation and consumer litigation. He is a really good dude to boot. Here, he's coming in right now. We're going to talk about him
We are.
right now. Hi, Mark Turner.
How's it going, Mark?
It's going well.
Oh, he brought a pen and a paper.
I
What do you
know.
suppose he's going to take notes?
I have no
Maybe.
idea.
And how
Have a
to
seat, buddy.
how we can
You
do
want a beer?
better?
I would love a beer.
All right.
Do you
Hold
think he's going to take notes on how we can do better?
I hope so. Molly, are you sticking with your coffee?
I'm sticking with my decaffeinated coffee, flavored.
What kind of beer do you want?
I believe there's an all-day IPA in there.
Oh, was that the one Alex already stole?
No.
No.
All day IPA.
It makes me nervous, Mark, that you know exactly what's in the refrigerator as far as beer.
Oh, you have no idea what a beer snob I am.
Oh, okay. What's your favorite?
Right now, probably Nosferatu or Warlock. Because
So-
it's the season.
I learned that, and maybe you do this, when you go out of town, you're to go to Chuck's Beverage and you're to pick up a 6-pack of one of our local beers. And then if you go somewhere, another state, you're to visit their local beverage store.
Oh, beverage store.
And give them your 6-pack, and they will give you a 6-pack of their local beer. Did you know that?
I'll need to find some of that out.
Yeah.
My goal is when I go to a new town is to find the local brewery and go to the brewery.
And enjoy. Well, I
Yeah.
think you should do that.
I like it.
Isn't that a great idea?
It is.
So when you go, you stop at Chuck's and you get a 6-pack of our local beers.
What's our local beer?
Well, Great Lakes.
Like Cleveland.
Cleveland,
Not
correct.
Chagrin
Market
Falls.
Garden.
Correct.
Okay.
One of
And
those.
then you go to Chicago, Illinois, or Chicago, and then you go into a Chuck's
Right.
there, and you give them the 6-pack, and they'll give you a 6-pack of their local beers because they
Interesting.
want to try other people's local beers.
Cross-pollinating.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I
And
like
do you
the
have
idea.
the card or the app?
No, I used to have the On Tap app,
Yes. Yes.
but then it kept on getting these badges, and I felt like I was becoming an alcoholic. So I had to get rid of that.
Is it funny that I have no idea what I'm talking about, but it certainly sounds like I do?
It does.
That was one visit to Chuck's, and I got all that information.
I like
Yeah,
it.
some guy came in. He's like, "Hey, I'm headed to blah blah blah. Can you give me 6 of some
Something-
beers?" And I was like, "What?" And then he explained it to me. He was
This-
talking about how he's a beer snob. That's where that went.
This weekend, I was in Lodi for a soccer tournament, and
Ooh, that sounds like fun.
it's like an all-day gig, right? And I was pretty surprised at how many parents bring beer from other states. To your point, to those soccer tournaments, right? Like this one parent had this hard lemonade from North Carolina, and man, it was like half a can, and it was a great afternoon watching Jacob play soccer.
Okay, I've got to dig into that.
That's what parents do at soccer tournaments.
Seriously?
It's
Far
even
away
more
places.
prevalent at hockey rinks.
Yeah, except I bet you in hockey rinks it's a lot of flasks.
A lot of flasks.
Yeah.
Or
Maybe that's why we have a problem with our youth.
Well, no.
Because our parents can't
The other thing is
sit and enjoy a game without alcohol.
Oh,
Seriously,
don't be all
people,
judgy.
Come on.
the coffee mugs filled with beer is also
Yeah,
very popular.
I will tell you this. That was definitely very prevalent at like football games, high school football games, all the way from my childhood until now as a parent. Man, those stands are filled with liquor.
That's so funny. Well, my husband took his stardom a little too much to his head, and he brought alcohol to the park during Tuesday. And
Yeah, I'm sure he was the only one.
had to drive him home and leave my car. This is how quick fame ends. Had to leave my car overnight. I texted the lieutenant. I said, "Hey, my car's going to sit here overnight. Husband's drunk. Have to bring him home." And sure as crap, I get back the next morning and there's the ticket on my car. And I texted the lieutenant, like, "Is this a thank you note? That's so nice of you to leave me a thank you note on my car." And then John and I went out to breakfast, and he said, "Your shirt's on inside out." And I said, "You know what? Fame lasted 12 hours, and I slept through 8 of them." So who do we have sitting to my right and your
Wow.
left?
As we were saying earlier, Mark Turner is what we in the legal world call a litigator,
And a beer snob.
also a beer snob, and a hockey aficionado, and a board member of a nonprofit or two, right? Or two? Is it two?
Two.
Two nonprofits.
Shame. Only on the board of one. I'm the legal advisor for the
All
center.
right, fair enough.
Oh.
And an MBA haver.
Went to the Buckeye State for college, for law
Went to
school.
the Ohio State University for law school.
Matzah.
Matzah? Oh, Moritz. The Moritz College of
See, I'm
Law.
hanging around you
Yeah.
too much.
Matzah.
It's
wanna
the
say
Moores College of Law at the Ohio State University.
And here I'm calling it Matzah, like it's
Wow.
the Jewish law firm, thanks to
Kind of is. So
hanging around
yeah.
with my buddy.
So that's Mark Turner, ladies and gentlemen. Mark.
Yes, sir.
Welcome.
Thank
yeah.
you.
I
Thank
just
you for the
learned what
beer.
litigation was, too.
Right. Let me ask you a question, Mark, because I wonder this about other people. Why become a lawyer?
I don't think there's a simple answer to that.
Yeah.
I grew up in a family that I am the 4th generation attorney, so it was definitely in my blood. My father's mother's father was a attorney and ended up being a federal bankruptcy judge in Massachusetts. My grandfather was an attorney in Buffalo. My father was an attorney in Buffalo, and I tried to escape. I went the MBA route and then realized that I absolutely hated doing the accounting I was doing, so I said I'm going to go to law school, and I'm much happier.
You were an accountant at like nursing homes or something.
It was a home health care agency.
Okay, close. Yeah. Yeah, no, I would switch careers too if I did that.
Are you still an accountant? Like,
I was never had a CPA.
Okay.
I was technically the term was financial manager, but I did all of the accounting, all of the books for the firm. But I did not do the Medicare, Medicaid accounting. That was done on Long Island for that company.
gotta be
You were in Buffalo growing up.
No, I grew up in Buffalo.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you, how'd you end up at Ohio State?
Ohio State was a long road. I went to Case Western for undergrad, and then stayed here 2 years after I graduated, then went to Buffalo for my MBA, came back to Cleveland and worked for 6 years, maybe 7, I can't remember, before I decided to go to law school.
How'd you end up at Case?
I toured a lot of colleges. I had one rule that it had to be 3 hours away from my parents. That was, anything else was open. So
Was that their rule or
that
your
was
rule?
my rule.
Oh, interesting.
So it was it could be close enough that I could go home for a holiday, but too far for them to just drop in.
Yeah.
I'm gonna think you're a mama's boy.
No,
No? Have to be 3 hours away from his mama.
a minimum. I could have
Well,
been.
that's
I could
enough
have
to
been 8,
get
10.
chicken soup
Oh,
to
it
you.
could have been. I think 3 hours is a good.
Oh, minimum. Okay.
Minimum.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
I
Gotcha.
I had to be outside of that 3 hour range.
Gotcha.
I was kind of like that, thinking the same way with Miami of Ohio, right? That's a 4-hour drive from Cleveland, and yeah,
Horrible
they're not
drive.
popping in without you knowing about it well in advance. They don't know what you're going to be up
Just
to.
so you both know, I did popped in on my daughter. She went to Dayton. I popped in on her all the
You
time.
did? Mm-hmm. Was she cool with that?
Oh yeah, I'm cool. And did you do your beard to look like Alex? I've noticed that this is a new look for you.
Well, I went up to Maine on vacation in mid-August, and I forgot my razor. And my daughter said, well, just grow a beard. And this is the 3rd or 4th time I've done it, so I did. And then a week ago today, I was supposed to get my hair cut, and my barber called up and had to cancel because her daughter was sick. So I am a week now behind in getting my hair cut.
So will the beard stay?
The beard will stay, but it will be much more manageable.
Got you.
Groomed,
Groomed.
trimmed.
Yes.
Yeah, because if you look at the neck, I was taught, Rob Sapp taught me that.
Keep it off the neck.
Yeah,
Got to keep it off the neck.
that's-
Now, a lot of dudes, right, will tell you, like, the way you wear your beard, it's really close to the chin. I got it about halfway down the chin, right? Because, I don't know, people have their own styles. And the other thing is, I generally, right, like,
I mean, yours is kind of like his is a full beard. Yours
that's like a
is
peach
kind of
fuzz.
like yeah.
I'm like I just hit
Can
puberty.
you not grow a full beard? Is that
Well,
the problem?
the way Mark's is,
No one wants to grow a mountain man one like this.
No?
No, I don't want it. I want
yeah,
it.
yours is bushy
Yes,
right now.
way too bushy.
Yeah. When mine gets that big, it gets bushy like that, and I don't like it that way. So I
Okay.
keep it like kind of trimmed.
But you've got the soul patch going, which that I shave off.
Well, so the thing of it is, I think about that all the time. Like one of these days, I'm just
The
gonna
what
go
patch?
Right here.
soul
Right,
patch,
The
the
soul
soul
patch.
flavor
patch.
saver. No, soul patch.
Where the hell is this podcast going?
Listen,
We've said bush and soul patch all in 5 minutes.
I was not talking sexual at all. There,
I'm just
Molly.
saying those are the words we've used in 5 minutes. That's all I'm saying.
Soul patch is that's more a commentary on how funky somebody is as
I
opposed to how
see.
sexual someone is.
I see.
Molly, head in the
I
gutter,
see.
Gebbler.
I see.
No,
Okay.
but I wrestle with this, right? Like I've often thought about just going soul patch and getting rid of everything else,
I'm glad you have not thought that way.
or Fu Manchu mustache plus soul patch
No.
and nothing else.
No.
You're saying no?
My opinion is the only way you can have the soul patch is if you go Fu Manchu.
Fu Manchu?
Yeah.
You know what a Fu Manchu is?
Yeah.
It's like the Hulk Hogan.
Right. My dad has that.
Does he?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he does.
Right?
You're right.
Right?
He does.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about that, right? So, number one, I definitely can't ever go back to court, right? Because I think
Go back to what?
Court, right? Like, these days, Mark does almost all of the, like, litigation for the firm at the highest level. If I went Soul Patch plus Fu Manchu or just Soul Patch, I don't think I could go to court anymore, you know?
I get that.
Which I generally...
Would you not get respect then?
Yeah.
Oh.
It depends on the judge.
Are
But
people not respecting you right now? Although you don't have Soul Patch or Fu Manchu.
no, I don't.
When I first started wearing this beard, I had like really long hair, and this one judge that I knew pretty well said, in front of the other lawyer and all of our clients, said, counselor, I see you're going for the European underwear model look today. And after that, I became really self-conscious about like my facial hair in court.
Good for him then. Good for him.
Anyway.
So let's talk about, I have a question. Estate planning business plan. Is that all one word? Or is that all one sentence? Or do you do estate planning and business plan?
I would do estate planning and business planning.
Correct. Okay. I just
Those
wanted
would
to
be
know.
two separent things.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about a business plan. That's brought up a lot in the chamber.
Business planning means different things at different stages. So business planning can be, you've got an idea and you want to plan out your business. I help get people incorporated and have their articles of incorporation. If they want to choose an LLC versus a corporation versus an S corporation, and lots of different choices go into that, making sure that they have, if they have partners, that they have a partnership agreement, who's going to buy out who if something goes wrong, or lots of things that you need to consider before you start a business.
Because sometimes people need a business plan to get a loan or to get an investor, and so that you're helping with that. But how do you estimate, like when you're doing this business plan, how can you say, because it's usually like what you're going to see in 3 years, or where this business is going to grow, or how much money it's going to make?
When you're going to a bank for a loan, that's a financial business plan. And that's one thing. This is more of the structure that you're going to form that business plan around. And you have to take in consideration how many people are starting up the business, what is their product or service, do they expect to grow, or is this something that they think is going to be relatively small scale? All those types of things go into determining what their best entity to form and what rules they want to put in for their partnership or LLC agreement.
Mark, so I didn't mention that earlier. You do a lot of estate planning in addition to litigation. What do you like better?
Depends on a given day. I think that litigation is a lot more challenging.
There's got to be more of a rush with litigation than there is estate planning.
It is, but at the same time, I feel between estate planning and I also do a lot of nonprofit law, I find that karmically rewarding. So that's
Karmically rewarding. I like that.
it's a nice balance.
Yeah.
Sometimes, when you're litigating, you have to get down in the mud because both sides are there,
Gotta
and
get nasty.
you got to get not necessarily nasty, but it's not necessarily friendly. And when you're doing estate planning, you're helping someone in the long run. And when you're helping a nonprofit, I just feel good about doing that too.
And to be clear, estate planning, we're talking about wills, trusts,
Succession planning for businesses, guardianships,
Living
Right.
wills.
living wills,
Right.
powers of attorney.
So one thing that I've learned about litigation, Molly, is that there's always some stress involved, right? There's always a client who feels stressed out, right? No matter which side of the V they're on, they're stressed. They don't want to be there, right? And then in most in many cases, I shouldn't say most cases, in many cases, there is some lawyer who believes it to be his job or her job to stress you and your client out, right, in order to prevail, right, in order to gain leverage and bring you to your knees so that he can get what he wants. And I think in many cases you kind of feel the same way, right? Do you find, Mark, that there's that sort of constant stress, that constant tension in litigation that is hard to get away from?
There's always stress, and
Yeah.
it's by nature it's confrontational.
Right.
You've got one side versus the other, and there are lots of different types of lawyers out there. There are the lawyers that will go beat down doors and win at all costs. That's not necessarily the best lawyer for every situation, right. And quite frankly, I don't think it's very often the best lawyer.
Yeah.
The best lawyer looks at your problem, makes an assessment, and tries to resolve that as quickly as possible. Usually you can find reasonable minds will agree, but sometimes you have to get down and dirty and be that attack dog.
Speaking of attack dogs, what a great segue to talk about hockey.
There we go.
What position do you play?
I'm a natural center. So,
natural center. What does that mean?
I roam more, and I am better at supporting the wingers, and I'm good at faceoffs, as opposed to someone who is a right wing or a left wing that has a certain set of responsibilities, but they don't have to go all the way down into the defensive zone. They're supposed to stay higher, covering the opposition's defenseman at the blue line, whereas the center has to go all the way down. I enjoy the defensive side of it as much as the offensive side.
And you've been playing your whole life?
Since I was 5. And
it's huge in Buffalo, right?
I grew up, it was right when the Sabres started playing. Way back, I think it was 72 is when I started playing, and I told my parents I wanted to, and they hesitated at first because they knew they had to get up very early to get me to the rink, but they said yes.
Hockey players and hockey teams work like ungodly, unspeakable early morning hours. I don't understand that.
It's no longer the case.
Oh, is that right?
But when I was growing up, I had 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. ice times Saturdays and Sundays a lot. And my dad made me get all of my equipment except my skates and helmet and gloves on, plug in the coffee maker, and only when that was all done could I go upstairs and wake him up to drive me. And I only missed one game.
You know what your dad is? He's efficient.
Smart.
But now I coach my 12-year-old, and I've got ice times starting at 6 o'clock at night, going to the latest start time I think is 8:30, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, I definitely remember the hockey. The main reason I did not go that direction is because I didn't want to wake up that early. And all my friends were up at like 5:30 in the morning, in the butt ass cold. You know what I mean? Like
give us some
hockey.
Injury stories.
Are
all your teeth in?
I have lost one tooth because of hockey, which was a freak accident during warm-ups. My skate became untied.
Can't even brag about that.
And I went to the corner of the goal line, like 20 feet or 30 feet away from the net, and I took off my helmet so I could see my skate better, and someone shot the puck off of the goalpost and hit me in the mouth.
That's outstanding. That's a great story.
But I did play the game.
See? Now that's bragging rights right there. That's bragging rights. I want to go back to litigation.
Wait, hold on a second. Before do you have any good stories of injuring other people?
I've got a good story about injuring a ref.
Oh.
In high school, we were up in the middle of nowhere, Canada, and our team had been called for too many men on the ice because we had had a slow change. And so I am coming off at the end of the shift, and I jump up over the boards, and my skates kick out because I want to make sure I'm over the board so we don't get called again. And my skate hit the ref in his hand and sliced open his hand. He had to leave because they couldn't stop the blood. He had to go get stitches.
My goodness.
But
did you get in trouble?
No penalty or anything else. He was responsible for himself. And
do you think people have died in hockey? Presumably they have, right?
They have, and at least twice skates have cut jugular veins on the ice in the
Wow.
NHL.
Yeah.
My parents were actually at the game where a goalie named Clint Malarchuk got cut in the neck. And
Did he die?
No, he did
No.
not. And he came back a week later and played a game.
I know that. Do you know that the only person that died in Major League Baseball is buried at Lakeview Cemetery?
I've gone past the...
How did
There's
he
always
die?
a baseball. You got
Beat in the
baseball
head?
right in the head.
Yeah.
He wasn't wearing a helmet?
Oh, this is
No,
way back
way
before
back.
you had
Yeah,
to...
and he has that. There's always a baseball on his grave. They say,
Yes, sir? Mm-hmm. I did not know
and there's
that.
always a beer on. It's a Great Lakes beer. That's a guy.
Elliot Ness?
Yes, there's always a beer on his grave, which is also at Lakeside Cemetery,
Lakeview.
Lakeview.
It's a Lakevie's beautiful.
I have to go. I have to go. I have not been.
Oh, you should.
Yeah,
Go in the spring or Easter.
Easter.
Easter is huge. Lots and lots of people go.
Oh, I don't want to go with lots of people. I want to be by myself.
Go in February.
Yeah. So back to litigation. So you have a client. They think they're right. You think they're right. How do you? Because there's got to be some emotional babysitting with a client through this process of. They want to know when it's over. They want to know how much money they're spending. They want to know if they're going to win. They want to know why you're doing that. They think maybe you should do this. Like, on top of you doing your job, there's got to be some baggage that you are maintaining throughout the process. Not that I'm calling your clients baggage.
How dare you?
But, there's got to be keeping them happy and satisfied.
I agree that it's happy and satisfied, but the biggest part of that is managing expectations. So in litigation, I cannot guarantee anyone's going to win, because what it comes down to, it's either going to be a jury or a judge that's going to decide, and I don't have control over their thought process. So I have to explain that to my client, that there are certain things I cannot control, and at the same time, there are certain things I can control, and explain to them what I can. And a lot of that is just communication and understanding where they are in every step. So we give weekly updates on all of our cases, so our clients know exactly what's happened the prior week and what we expect to do in the weeks to come. We are working on making sure that they understand where they are within a budget, which we lay out at an early stage, so they have a good idea of what it is going to cost and when those expenses are going to occur. And the more communication you have with that client and the more you have managed their expectations, you never want a surprise. You want results, you want success, or at least you cannot guarantee success, but you want as good an outcome as you can possibly have without it being blindsided or a surprise.
Yeah. I know the answer to this, but I'll ask you anyway. We're pretty big with alternative fee arrangements here too.
Absolutely.
I was just going to ask, is that phone call that you're doing every week, is that in their budget, or is that an additional cost to the client? Because I know I've had attorneys where they've called me to ask me how my day is, and then I receive
It's not a weekly call, it's a weekly email.
Okay, but you charge for emails too, right?
We do, but only if we do something substantive. If I am
Okay.
just telling them what I did last week and what I'm doing next week, that's not substantive. That's not
billable.
I've got to be able to do something that improves their chances of prevailing on their case.
I like that.
So let's talk about alternative fees, because that's something that a lot of law firms give lip service about, but we take pretty seriously. So
We
there's
didn't even ask Mark what law firm he works for. Do you know that?
we didn't.
No. Mark, what law firm do you work for?
I work for the Gertzberg Law Firm.
Oh.
Do you like working for the Gertzberg Law Firm?
Absolutely.
Would you say that if I wasn't in the room?
Probably.
Are you interviewing for anyone else at this particular time?
Oh man. Here, Molly, listen.
Let's talk about this. I know you've talked about this before.
Yeah. This is a big deal here, right? Like, so I'll let Mark finish the sentence because I've asked him. I don't want to hijack the answer, but most litigation, other than personal injury litigation, is done on an hourly fee basis. You pay for your lawyers by the hour, right?
Remember, I worked at a law firm.
That's right.
Or for an attorney, I should say. That's different.
So we don't do it that way. We always give them an alternative to that in every case. Talk about that.
Which is the budget you were just kind of talking about.
There's a lot of different ways you can do it. In some cases, if there is, such as setting up a business, we know roughly how many hours it's going to take, but there's always, sometimes it'll take longer, sometimes it'll take shorter, but we say we can do it for a flat fee. And that's great, especially for a new business. They have certainty. They can budget for it. They know exactly how much is going to be out of pocket to get to where they want to be.
But how can you come up with that?
Experience. We've done enough of these that we know roughly how long it's going to take, what our expenses are to get it, and then we can calculate backwards from there.
But the more unusual thing I think about this firm is how we apply non-hourly billing to litigation, right? So how do we do that?
Well, we do it in a couple of different ways. If someone is being sued for a certain amount of money, and we review, and there is definitely liability there, but the dollar amount is way off, we can do something that's called a reverse contingent fee. So I will use round numbers only. We look at a case and it's $100,000. That's what they're being sued for. We don't think that anything near there is collectible. We will negotiate a contract with our client that says we will take a percentage of whatever money we save you off of that $100,000. So that's a reverse contingent fee. If we are suing, sometimes we will do a pure contingent fee. So we get a percentage of whatever we collect. And then what we also like to do is something that's blended. So a significantly reduced hourly fee, but we will also take a smaller contingent percentage. And that seems to be the best of both worlds for both the client and us.
And what's your rate, especially on the budget that you finish out with?
The rate differs between the matters that we have and whom the client is. We have organizations that we have contracts with that have a discounted rate. If we are doing a reduced rate with or a blended rate, it's lower than my normal rate.
But when you do your budget and you say to a client it's going to be this amount of money, which could be less or more, are you pretty good with sticking in your frame?
We are good at sticking within the frame when nothing unexpected occurs. But when something does unexpectedly occur, we have to tell, and we do tell our client right away that we did not anticipate this. This is not part of the budget, and provide them with an additional budget for that unexpected occurrence.
But that's highly unusual because we can predict most things that are going to happen. That's very rare. Let's talk about beer for a second. We had this conversation the other day because you're a big fan of craft beer, right?
I am.
And you asked me an interesting question. You said, all right, well, let me lead up to this. Because, Molly, what I was saying to Mark is that I didn't think that I was born with the right equipment in my head to appreciate beer, like craft beer, right?
Agreed. I'm not either, yes.
Yeah, it's like, it all tastes like shit to me. I don't get it. I don't get how people, like, you ever look on Facebook and people are like, oh, I can't wait to crack my whatever open, and they got a picture of it, or they're holding their 6-pack. And
yeah, but you have the palate for just another kind of alcohol. Like somebody would have a palate for wines and scotch and beer and.
Do people not
all
like
the above?
scotch?
No.
That's crazy.
What did I say?
Talk.
It's like French kissing a man that smoked a pack of cigarettes. That's what scotch tastes like. We've already had that conversation. It's disgusting.
Maybe you just don't like French kissing men with cigarettes. But
either way.
other
either
people
way.
might.
Or scotch. Well, we know you do, Alex.
At least.
No, but when I said that to you the other day, you said to me, what do you like better, bitter or sour?
Yes.
And I said sour, but only slightly.
I don't like an IPA. I do know
I
that.
can't stand it.
Gross.
So no,
I
IPAs
don't- yeah.
are heavy in hops, and hops are very bitter.
Yes. Yes.
Belgian beers have a lot less hops, but they have Belgian yeast, which makes them sour.
Is that the same as mash? What is mash?
Mash,
drug.
no, mash is the grains that are fermenting, that have been mashed up. I think that's for Scotch and
That's got nothing to do with Belgian.
nothing,
Come on.
nothing
When I
to do
think
with it.
Belgian, I
Alex.
think mash. I don't know why.
No,
Whatever.
IPAs I don't like. I like a Kentucky bourbon ale. Is that right?
Yeah,
I like
yes.
that. And I have done like
Or
the
porter.
white and brown, or the Guinness and something that you
black and tan, or black and gold using Great Lakes Dortmunder Gold.
Oh, see.
So let's go through them, right? There's a stout is a type of beer.
That's a thick one, right?
Stout is a dark, thicker, highly malted beer.
Okay. Then you got the ale, which is
Well,
reddish.
actually, the next step up would be porters, which are also dark, but they're not as heavy. They're lighter. They're usually nuttier.
What's an example of a porter?
Edmund Fitzgerald.
Ooh, all right.
See, I just don't taste nut like because wine is also
Yeah.
oaky and nutty, and I just don't have that.
All those
palate.
flavors are from the barley, and it's roasted. And if you roast it in a certain way, the darker the roast, the more coffee-like you can have it, but the more burnt it tastes also. But at a certain point, it gets nutty, just like a roasted nut. But if you barely roast it at all, it's going to taste like fresh cut grass in times.
All right.
I do like. There's a hazelnut beer I do like.
A lot of those have additives.
So you got the.
Probably why I
so
like 'em.
That's the porter. What's after the porter?
Probably going up, it would
And what do you mean
Probably
by
be a-
going up? Like, are we
from
going
from darkest to
Okay.
lightest.
Okay.
So, well, there are also two types. There's ales and lagers, and I'm going to mix this up. But ales
You better not.
ferment at the bottom, and lagers ferment at the top. So when you create it's called wort, which is unfermented beer. It's the grains and the hops and everything and water mixed together.
Right.
And then you add the yeast, which is called pitching it. The yeast will either, depending on
There's some other things when you say pitching
We're
it.
so
Oh, sure.
sophomore. We're so immature.
so the
I didn't
Is there-
think about it until you
Is there
said.
somebody? Is there somebody catching it?
Oh, we're sorry. We're sorry.
We're
Let's stay
idiots.
I'm going to need
focused.
another drink.
Let's get him another drink so that we
Here, you want me
really
to get-
can.
No,
talk
I'm
But
good.
I-
I'm good. I'm good.
But
But
there's someone pitching it.
the ales ferment at the bottom,
Pitching a tent.
lagers ferment at the top.
Well, you're not even drinking. You're saying such silly things.
She's over caffeinated.
It's
The
decaffeinated coffee. I'm just tired.
All right.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, keep going, Mark.
So you've got
Don't
those-
mind us.
Those two
horrible.
camps, and between those are lots of different varieties that you can use from there.
All right. So that's the ale versus the lager.
Lager. And then beyond that, you've got IPAs and pale ales, which are generally bitter. Then you've got like Dortmunder style and lagers and pilsners, which are generally neutral. Like your Yingling that's a lager. And then there's steam beer, which is a uniquely American beer. Anchor Steam is the most famous. And then the only other true American beer that is the squash beers, including pumpkin beer.
Oh.
Those aren't found on the continent, but all the other beers have been imported one way or another.
Interesting.
So America made the squash beers?
Yeah, because it's native here.
Okay.
And steam beer is the other one. Oh, cream ale, they also invented.
Oh yeah, cream ale.
I'm not a fan.
No.
No.
What's your favorite?
IPA.
I prefer IPAs. Probably
What does IPA stand for?
India Pale Ale. And I can give you the story behind that.
Sierra Nevada has an Indian Pale Ale.
It does. It's very.
I'd like to hear the story. Oh, is it from India?
Yes. Back when England ruled the world, they had all these troops stationed in England, and part of the agreement for the troops was that they got a certain amount of beer as rations, and that was part of their agreement signing up. But you couldn't make beer in India, it was too hot. So they had ship it from England there. But when they were shipping the regular beer that they were getting, it tasted terrible because it spoiled in the long trip. So they created India Pale Ales, which are higher alcohol, higher hop content. The hops are actually preservative, and so it kept longer. And so those became India Pale Ales, which the troops then got, and then they became popular in America.
All this beer talk makes me want to go drop some off, so I'm going to go drop some off. I'm going to be back in like 2 minutes. You guys keep talking.
We can do that.
All right,
Are you
guys-
talking about peeing?
Yeah.
Oh my
that
gosh.
cool?
That's ridiculous.
What do you mean it's
Put it
ridiculous?
that way, drop it off. Come
What?
on
How
now.
do you-
What are you, 12?
Yeah.
Thank goodness we can edit this.
All right, so
No, I'm good.
let us talk about your and now I can't find it. You're on boards. How does one get on a board? But you said 2 boards. I only see 1 board.
Well,
Help me out.
okay. I am on the board of directors of Open Doors Academy.
Yes, let's talk about that. I want to learn more about that.
Okay. Open Doors Academy is a nonprofit organization that was started at my church, St. Paul's Episcopal in Cleveland Heights.
Okay.
And it now serves 17 campuses throughout Cleveland, Cleveland Heights, Euclid, the city of Cleveland, and it starts kids at 6th grade. And it's an after-school enrichment program that's holistic in nature. And what's amazing about them is that they have a 100% high school graduation rate, with 95% of their students being in poverty or extreme poverty. They have 97% of their kids go on to post-secondary something. So college, community college, the services, or apprenticeships. And it's just an amazing program that started up there. And the reason it's called Open Doors was the kids in Cleveland Heights used to walk past the church every day when they got out of school, and the church didn't want them coming in. And they locked the doors and prevented them from using the restrooms or getting water or anything else. And the rector said, we've got to open up the doors and stop this. It's not our mission. And it started out really just as after-school daycare. But then they realized they had an opportunity there, and a woman named Anne Marie Grassi started running it not too long, 2000. And it's just,
When did it start?
let's see, this is their 25th year.
Wow. And what do you do as a board member?
As a board member, I help shape the policy, do strategic planning for them, help organize fundraisers, and promote the organization.
And have you been able to meet the kids or
I've met
Work
many
with
of the
them?
kids, not necessarily work with them because the idea of what they do is very, you can't just step in and do it. You need a lot of training to truly work with them, but I've certainly met with them and heard them speak and seen the outcomes that are just amazing.
interesting? I mean, what you said 2 boards.
There's another organization called Little Free Libraries, and you've seen them
Yes,
all
we
over
have
town.
one in Chagrin here, the little house.
Yes, a man named Bob Chesser started that up, or at least started up in the greater Cleveland area. It was started somewhere else, but there's a nonprofit organization that I have had the pleasure of being in contact with for 4 or 5 years now, and I am technically their legal advisor, so when they have a problem, they give me a call, but
So tell me a little bit about how that whole how does it work?
certainly. In an area, someone says, I want a little free library, and they contact the organization, and they have them made. They literally dig a hole, put a post in, and a box that is filled up with books. And it's
Looks like a little house.
They got one on
South-
South Franklin.
So
No.
it's-
Yes,
It's Chagrin, on Chagrin.
Yep.
it's give a book, take a book. They've never had one vandalized. They are in some, they're inner city neighborhoods, suburbs, affluent. It spans, socioeconomic borders. But every time they go by and they look at the book or the libraries at least once a week, There's always books in them. They start out with 15, 20 books, but often there are enough books that are donated.
And are they different books? Like, are people actually taking and giving other books?
Yes.
Or are they just the same book?
No, it's...
So you don't have to bring it back?
You don't have to bring it back. It is yours to keep. You can certainly bring it back if you want.
Right.
But, people are encouraged to drop off books and to take books as often as they want.
So interesting.
I never knew that there was an organization behind that. I thought people just put that on their front lawn.
Right. That's so, I mean,
It's a great idea.
It's just concepts like that. If we could just do more of that, and I was inspired. We were talking about the Edwin's restaurant. I mean, it just takes one person to think of it and then do it, which is always where it stops, and then continue it on. And that's just so cool, especially in the inner cities where, it might be very dangerous for them to walk to the library or, and if their neighbor has this little book thing. So cool.
And
so
also
cool.
just for people who can't afford to buy books and everything else. And
so cool.
The thing about that is, I'll tell you
I want to
something.
have a book house.
I kind of do too. I think it's a great idea. I've been thinking about it for the development that I
But
live
would
in.
is it beneficial for like a community like ours that is that really fulfilling the mission of what it is?
the mission is to encourage reading.
Okay.
And so if you are going to put one in and people are going to read rather than play on their iPads or whatever, it's fulfilling the mission. The mission is definitely slanted towards those people who can't afford books or don't have access to books as much, especially for children, especially in their first 500 days when reading to children is so important. But at the same time, it's not limited to any socioeconomic group.
The thing about it is, and I really learned this from the essay contest, right, is that this is what fascinates me the most about that program, is that if you give people an opportunity to be nice to each other, it's amazing how many people stand up and say, yes, I'll be nice. I will contribute my book. I really don't even care if I take one, but I bet very few people take one without leaving one, right? I think that most people view those libraries as an opportunity to either give or exchange rather than just to take.
I'd be afraid that people would drop off, because I know that I have so many books. I'd be afraid that people would be dropping off boxes to my
I
house.
almost had beer shoot out of my nose when you said that.
I think actually often people take books without leaving them.
Really?
But I think also a lot of people leave books without taking. Or I know that there's one down the street from us with my kids. They would take 3 or 4 books and drop them off and each take one home. So there's definitely exchanges there, but it's not necessarily an equal exchange, and there's often times when it's one or the other.
And how many books can fit in one of these little houses?
Good question. I have no idea.
Because it doesn't look like it's too
I think it's like
deep
there's
or
usually
anything.
like 2 shelves.
There's 2 shelves, and
like 10 paperbacks per shelf.
I'm totally
I think
getting a book
more
house.
than that.
Yeah.
I'm getting a book house. Could you hook me up with a book house? Who do I connect
I will
with?
get you a number.
Okay, I would love that. I want a book house.
All right, let's do the lightning round. You ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Mark, are you ready?
Hit me.
All right. Mark Turner, what has been your biggest success?
And please do not say working for Alex.
No, it's my children.
Can't use
I was
that
gonna say,
one.
please don't say your show.
You need to remember to say that, please.
What?
Okay.
And it can't be your.
Okay,
Can't be
I will tell you my biggest success.
Okay.
Beyond that, last
thank
year I coached a hockey team in which the kids were. It was a 3rd-tier team, and
that mean?
there's
Like the C
there's
team.
the C team.
Okay, what grade level?
They were 11 and 12-year-olds,
Okay.
and some of them had just learned how to skate. One of them was his first year of playing hockey. They came from 3 different programs combined into a single team. And by the end of the year, they were all best friends and inviting over to each other's house. And while we didn't win a lot of games, we won a lot more than we thought we would. And they became a real
A
team.
lot of friendships.
So it was really good.
Lovely.
Love that.
That's a good one. Biggest failure. Defining it any way you wish.
Any way I wish. Ooh, that's a tough one.
Don't say working at the Gertzberg Law Firm.
Now you can say working at the Gertzberg Law
I'm
Firm.
aware.
Okay, we'll go back to beer. I have started growing hops 7 years ago, and at my church we brew church beer every year.
But what is, I'm sorry, growing hops?
Growing hops.
How does that grow?
You plant the rhizome, which is like a part of the
Is it a plant?
stem. Yeah, it's a plant.
Huh.
It's related to hemp.
I know that one.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. And then they grow about
I knew that one. Let's
They-
be clear.
They grow about 18 feet tall if you let them, and then every late summer, early fall, you you dry out the hop flowers, and that contains the oil that makes beer bitter.
Huh.
And for 6 years in a row, we did a great job of harvesting the hops and brewing beer, and the last 2 years I have failed to harvest or brew. So I have...
Did you lose it? Did you lose the privilege of growing the hops?
No, they're still growing. I just have had too many other things, and
It's not you, Mark. It's the hops.
it is. I will blame the hops.
It's not you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Molly. What's your lightning round question?
I'll be interested to hear this since from his last comment a while back. Did you have an influential woman in your life?
I've had a number of influential
Anybody
ones.
you want to share about?
I will say my grandmother is as influential as anyone else.
Why?
I had two instances where my grandmother and my father's mother, she lived very close to us in Buffalo, and we would go and see her every Sunday, and she had a certain personality that was just stern yet teaching. So I learned a lot about manners and things like that from her. But then I went away to college, and when I came back to Buffalo to get my MBA, my grandmother was no longer able to drive, and I had free time, so I chauffeured her a lot.
Drive Miss Daisy.
And I really got to know her well. And she taught me a lot about expectations, and the thing I will always remember is, it's like she was starting to going downhill a little bit, and we were talking about the future. And it says, I'm not ready to leave now because I want to find out what happens. And that always runs through my head whenever, anything like that happens.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Warms my heart.
Last one, Mark. You ready?
You're making a mess over
I know.
there.
I'm sorry. I don't care. What is a really, really embarrassing thing about yourself that nobody else knows?
Gee, thanks.
Alex loves.
We should
Look
give
at,
that-
he's
we
like
should
a
give that-
3-year-old. He loves that.
We should give that question a name, like the Whopper or something like that. The 1-2.
The pooper, since that's been our history with it.
Maybe it should be. Wait, let's not poison Mark's mind here.
No, I consider myself a very good cook and a foodie, and I love going to the West Side Market or to farmers markets and getting nice food and special cuts of meat and everything else. But I still love Taco Bell.
Really? That's so
Speaking of the pooper.
That's so
Hold on.
funny because I will tell you, they do great with their commercials. They do make you want to go and try it, but
Gets ugly.
then I remember.
Comes back on.
I regret every morning, but at the time,
That's so
Wait. So keep
funny.
going. So
I just...
how would that can't possibly be the embarrassing thing about it about yourself that no one knows.
amongst a foodie group, yeah, it's very embarrassing.
Oh, so this isn't going to be like one of those
That you
and then
ate it and
this
then
one night
you went on Broadway
on a
and
Friday night of drinking lots of craft beers.
oh,
I took an Uber to Taco Bell, and
All right. Well, this has been illuminating.
this has been so great
It has.
And entertaining.
Let's do a quick recap. We learned about craft beer,
Yes,
Taco
Hockey.
Bell, hockey,
the little library that I'm
Nonprofits.
going to have in my front yard.
libraries.
What's that called again?
Little Free Libraries.
Little free library. Oh,
Learned a little bit about Buffalo,
beards.
beards. Lots. Yeah, I mean, this has been really
This has
educational.
been well-rounded, yeah.
Ooh, just
Yeah.
like Mark's beard.
I thought it was fuzzy.
No, bushy.
Bushy, sorry.
We learned about bushy.
We did.
And soul
what's
patches.
this-
Soul patch.
Soul patches.
You've never heard that before?
I've never heard that
Jeez,
before.
that's the craziest thing. How have you
know.
never heard soul patch?
I don't know, because I'm a girl.
All right, here. One thing that we need to say.
Yeah, what's coming up next? What do you want to say, Alex?
Well, so first of all, folks listening at home, do me a favor.
This will not be out for a good 3 weeks, I was told. So
Do me a
keep it
personal
current.
favor. Do Molly a favor. Do Mark a favor. Go to thebestpodcastever.com and then hit the subscribe button. And or go to Facebook and hit the like button.
And we don't bombard you with emails. All we're doing is
You'll
sharing
just know
a
when the
weekly email
you'll
that
know when the podcast
it's
comes out.
dropped.
When the podcast drops.
Dropped, yeah. That's the
Like a
professional
gauntlet.
term.
It gets dropped. That's right. So do that.
Like
and
a Taco Bell. We're dropping it.
Molly, that was too far. That one crossed the line. That was the one that did it. All right, so do that, folks. All right, go on
Yes.
Facebook, go and then click
Yes.
subscribe on our website.
Yes.
And
And while you're there,
check out
the
check
Gertzberg Law Firm
out the Gertzberg Law Firm
and the
where Mark
Chagrin Valley
works,
Chamber of Commerce,
where Molly works.
like all those.
Right. Mark, are you working on anything interesting and exciting? And
Something very
important?
pressing out there?
I am actually going to be filing a temporary restraining order tomorrow against the city of Hudson.
Really?
Are you allowed to just come right out and say that?
Well, this won't
This
air
won't come
before-
out until well later, so it'll already be filed.
Is that right? I thought the thing went away. No.
Unfortunately, no.
Oh, interesting.
Temporary restraining order on. So you're going to tell the city of Hudson that they can't be close to anybody?
No,
Different kind of
different kind of restraining order.
Okay,
The city and a developer want to use a sewer easement as a channel easement and dig a ditch in someone's backyard to drain water. And there's already 2 pipes buried there, one for sewer and one for stormwater, and they're trying to put a third one in that's a ditch as opposed to a buried pipe. And we don't believe that they have the right to do that, and we're going to
In
stop.
their backyard?
It's in their backyard, along the side of their yard, all the way to the street.
I see.
So that's what Mark's working on. By the time this airs, we will be really gunning for judges and sponsors for the 3rd annual
Yes.
We Solve Problems essay contest. So, folks, go to gertzberglaw.com, click on essay contest, and then be a judge and be a sponsor. Because this year it's going to be huge. 7 schools, 6,000 students,
You're your own item line on my budget, just so you know.
I am. I'm a line item. Oh, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. It's no profit because it all goes to the essay
Yeah.
contest, but I wanted to be transparent with
That's cool.
what we bring in and give.
This year it's going to be different than the other 2 years because we're letting the students choose their own problem to solve. And Mark, thank you for coming on to the Best Podcast Ever. Folks, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye.